I am in rainy Seattle right now, and I don't do politics, but when politics turns into a weapon of war, I certainly like to talk about that. So I've taken some time out of visiting my book editor to talk about the current conflict between Tucker Carlson's anti-Semitic guests and something that kind of looks internal to the Republican or MAGA movement, a conflict over U.S.-Israel policy, which is becoming an attack vector for Russian disinformation. This is a fault line that has external adversaries, especially Russian state-linked actors, actively targeting. I'll show you how this fracture works, why it matters, and what we should watch out for. Before I get started, by the way, hey, grab my NORAD shirt from Bunker Branding. It's a great Christmas sweater, has a Canadian CF-18 and an American F-22 on it. If you have to go to a Christmas party this year and you don't feel like going, but you want to talk to cool guys, I guarantee you dudes who like fighter planes will come up and talk to you if you wear this shirt. bunkerbranding.com. All right, so in recent months, since the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, you've probably noticed a rising tension inside the MAGA/America First coalition. On one side, there are these traditional pro-Israel conservatives, evangelicals, Christian Zionists, many of the older GOP guards, some of whom you might call neocons, whose support for Israel is non-negotiable. Israel is an ally. They help us out with defensive tech. They're the only democracy in the Middle East. We have American troops go there and train, and we learn from each other. Non-negotiable. On the other side, there's a growing faction of America Firsters who are often aligned with voices like Tucker Carlson and his ideological heirs who question that alliance. Why should the U.S. be drawn into foreign wars? Why should U.S. national interests take a back seat? And increasingly, some of these critics veer into anti-Semitic or conspiracy-laden territory. According to The Guardian, for example, right-wing support for Israel among younger evangelicals has dipped, with some restrainers inside conservative circles now saying, yes, America first means America works for itself, not always for Israel. Simultaneously, conservative media is reported to be undergoing a meltdown over anti-Semitism, revisionist history, and Russian disinformation. Put simply, there is a splitting right now over Israel and anti-Semitism, a key identity and foreign policy issues, and that conflict is precisely the sort of crack that a foreign adversary can try to exploit. Now, I'm going to talk about why you should care about this political division, but if you notice, I am traveling in Seattle right now, and when I connect to hotel Wi-Fi, I use PIA VPN. I am traveling in Seattle right now, and I trust hotel Wi-Fi about as much as I trust that those people on the street near the courthouse are just really flexible. You know, PIA VPN has been a sponsor for years. I actually do use them when I'm at the airport, when I'm traveling, when I'm going over someone else's house and I have to use the Wi-Fi. PIA VPN creates a tunnel between your computer and the public internet that hackers and rogue government agents can't penetrate. It adds another layer of security on top of your internet traffic, and that's one of the reasons I use it. You know, this location changing feature is really important as well. Yeah, you can use it to change your location so that you can watch Netflix movies that aren't available in your country, and that's really useful. But 1/3 of U.S. states, including Texas, have bans on what you can view on the internet. Until that whole thing worms its way through court, you can use PIA VPN to electronically move your location like I do. And if you're like me and travel a lot, one subscription covers all your devices. Here in Seattle, I got it on my phone and my laptop. So click the link in the description below or go to piavpn.com/Macbeth to get 83% off plus 4 months free and start surfing safer. So why should you care about this whole internal MAGA right-wing conflict? 3 reasons here. First, legitimacy and cohesion. If a major voting coalition fractures over foundational beliefs like U.S.-Israel alignment, or as to whether anti-Semitism is tolerated in the party, it weakens messaging, it weakens policy making, and it weakens political discipline. You may have disagreements with the American president and his domestic policy, but politics should stop at the water's edge. Whether you support President Trump or not, you should want him to do a good job when standing up to America's adversaries. Second, ideological credibility. If one wing accuses the other of being anti-Semitic or of foreign entanglement or being globalist, the entire message becomes toxic. That feeds into a broader societal polarization, which leads us into adversary exploitation. When domestic political fault lines deepen, foreign actors don't need to pick sides as much as just amplify those divisions. That weakens U.S. resilience, it distracts from strategic priorities, it undercuts national unity. We have clear evidence Russia and other actors are doing exactly that. For instance, the U.S. Justice Department recently disrupted a covert Russian influence operation that used fake domains, fake profiles, AI-enhanced propagandist content aimed at U.S. audiences. And also, Russia has explicitly used the Israel-Hamas conflict and broader Middle East tensions as a part of their disinformation campaigns, reframing the conflict as a U.S. foreign policy failure, using fake websites, fake narratives in Hebrew and in English to strain U.S.-Israel ties. So this disagreement within the conservative right is not only a domestic political skirmish, it's a ripe target for external disruption. So let's break this down. How this attack vector operates. 4 stages. Number 1, internal fault line emerges. The debate over Israel breaks open. Go pro-Israel versus America First skeptics. One camp charges the other with being globalist or Zionist or anti-Semitic. The other accuses the first of being naive or tied to foreign wars. So the fault line becomes visible and emotional. Second, amplification via domestic and media influence. Influencers like Tucker Carlson, fringe figures, cultivate this America First skeptic narrative. Others emphasize the pro-Israel narrative. This discussion becomes more emotive and identity-laden. Phase 3, foreign adversary interjection. Russian-linked or proxy actors step in. They do not necessarily create the division. They leverage it. They amplify it. They create fake accounts, clone news domains. They use the firehose of falsehood methods, like mass multi-channel, high-volume methods, to push narratives that widen the divide. According to Rand, this firehose of falsehood model is a core Russian tactic. There are examples of fake websites mimicking mainstream news outlets, pushing narratives around the Gaza war, as well as Israel-Ukrainian ties, etc. Phase 4, confusion. Demoralization, distraction. This is the end state. People don't know who to trust. Internal allies are turned against each other. Consensus on foreign policy priorities evaporate overnight. The U.S. is distracted. It's less unified. Meanwhile, the adversary wins by weakening U.S. positions indirectly. And because the right is already divided, these narratives don't get dismissed as outside propaganda. They often feel like internal critiques, which makes them more potent. For the MAGA right-wing coalition, this is like triply dangerous. 1, it undermines movement and discipline and messaging. If a large subset starts questioning Israel or veering into anti-Semitic territory, the right-wing brand suffers. 2, it provides leverage to opponents. The Democrats, the media, foreign policy elites will point to this internal disarray as evidence of recklessness or extremism. 3, it gives U.S. adversaries a strategic leverage. A divided right means U.S. foreign policy cohesion weakens. That benefits countries like Russia that wish to exploit this U.S. distraction. They wish for reduced credibility, lower deterrence. Put differently, the domestic rupture isn't just a story about Israel or anti-Semitism. It is a vulnerability in the U.S. national security architecture. The less unity we have, the easier it is for foreign actors to press that advantage. So to wrap up the split within the conservative/MAGA sphere over Israel and anti-Semitism, it might look like internal politics, but it's strategically relevant to the U.S. national defense. External adversaries like Russia are actively exploiting this kind of divide. If we ignore it, our vulnerability grows. If you are a part of the conservative movement, it's time to ask where you're going to draw your line here. How do we manage internal dissent without allowing bad actors to drive the wedge? Because that is exactly what Russia is doing right now. You know, anti-Semitism is so freaking stupid. It's like a Reese's peanut butter cup. It might taste delicious at first. It gives you that little high. But ultimately, you are putting poison inside of yourself. If you're watching this from the outside, from some of the more liberal wings of U.S. politics, recognize that our political rumblings often have more than one dimension. Foreign actors are going to use these divisions to sow chaos. They're not helping you, they're hurting us. But hey, there's one thing we can all agree on. It's that Christmas is pretty darn awesome. And go grab my NORAD Christmas sweater from Bunker Branding. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do you have a Christmas party to go to this year and you want to be the coolest guy there? Head on over to bunkerbranding.com. Get my NORAD Christmas sweater. Features a Canadian CF-18 and an American F-22 flying jointly, protecting the skies during Christmas. You will be the coolest person at the Christmas party, and I guarantee you, people who want to talk about fighter jets will come over to you. So head on over to bunkerbranding.com and be that cool guy at the Christmas party.